Welcome to night number 78 of History Bedtime Stories, in bed in our pajamas, and tonight we're going all the way back to the turn of the century, when in 1906, under the ownership of Arthur Gockler, Electric Park turned on its lights on East Jefferson Avenue, just past where the Belle Isle Bridge landed on mainland shore, today where Gabriel Richard Park sits. It was incredible. There was this giant windmill structure right on East Jefferson that boasted a giant sign that said the boardwalk, just for fun. And that was everything you needed to know about what you would find inside Electric Park. Ferris wheels, roller coasters, crazy, wonderful, imaginative rides, vaudeville, sideshow freaks, ostrich racing, and dance halls that were built to cantilever out over the Detroit River and to accommodate famous bands like John Philip Sousa, who actually played at Electric Park. The park was really well placed. It was at the end of a trolley stop, making it easy for people to ride in from anywhere in the city or surrounding towns to come for a day at Electric Park on the Detroit River. The park would go by a few names over its duration. Riverview Park, Luna Park, and Granda Park were all names that were eventually given to what starts as Electric Park. But of all of the rides, perhaps the two most famous are actually the roller coasters. One was called A Trip Through the Clouds, and it was boasted to be Detroit's greatest ride. The other was the Derby Racer, and it was nearly 2 miles long as a roller coaster. There were Ferris wheels and whip-arounds and swings, but clearly the strangest attraction was an interactive simulation of the Jonestown flood. A flood that killed hundreds of people when a dam failed and was turned into a simulated ride in Detroit at the turn of the century. It's nuts. Ostriches were brought in for races. Betting was encouraged. There were circuses. And through all of this, it's about the electric display. This thing hummed at night, so much electricity was going through it. The Detroit Free Press on May 24th, 1905 calls it the greatest electric display ever seen outside the Pan American Exposition. And when you're competing with a World's Fair for electric displays, you're doing a heck of a good job. Arthur Gockler was in love with his park. He loved it even after other parks opened up and really eclipsed it in rides offered. As the park starts to fail, Arthur Gockler ends up selling Gockler Point, a piece of property he owned on Lake St. Clair, to try to keep his park going. He sells that to Henry Ford, who gives it to his son Edsel Ford, and it becomes what today is called Gockler Point, the Eleanor and Edsel Ford estate. Pretty pricey and special piece of land, but Gockler was willing to give it up in order to try to keep his park going. Sadly, he dies in 1912, and the park changes hands a few times. It also changes names. In 1920, the legal battles start, though. The city wants this place gone. They think it is too much trouble, too much of a nuisance, and part of it is becoming so dismantled that it's actually considered an eyesore and blight. In 1927, the city council wins out and declares what had been Electric Park blighted. The entire park is torn down in 1927, and in 1928, Gabriel Richard Park, which is just a big green water access park on the river, opens up. Today, Electric Park is remembered through postcards, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing them. If you've been enjoying History Bedtime Stories, do us a favor. Give us a like and a share. You can do it right down there. And if in the comment section you tag a friend and tell them one piece of Detroit you miss, like Electric Park, we'll enter you into a raffle to win a whole bunch of Detroit vinyl stickers when we randomly draw a name next week. Wash your hands. We'll see you tomorrow night.